Hello, learners. Today's discourse is on political PR, role and scope. The practice of political public relations is probably as old as politics in society. History has it that when the first election was held thousands of years ago, the competing candidates employed tactics and strategies to win over the voters and deride the opponent. So, in an election, obviously, when there are many people fighting, so everybody wants to say, I'm better than the other. So, that is the crux of political public relations. Political PR draws its roots in the modern times from the presidential elections in the USA. In fact, there's a lot of criticism in the developing societies, including India and elsewhere, our neighbors, Bangladesh and Pakistan, that there's a huge Americanization of elections in our country, which means that a lot of mass media, a lot of tactics, strategies are used to create a world of make-believe. And this criticism has been, I've been hearing this criticism right from the 80s. Probably 1980s were the first time when in India we used the mass media and the campaigns at a level which was never done before. That was immediately after the death of the Prime Minister Indira Gandhi, and we saw that the entire flavor of the campaigns changed, and there has been no looking back in the last almost 40 years, 35-40 years. Interestingly, there's a very nice, interesting film which is called The Candidate, a political film made in the US which captures the essence of the role of PR and publicity in preparing a candidate for election. Those of you who are interested, if you just go to the internet, just write The Candidate, the film, political film, you can watch the whole film. But let me just tell you the crux of this. The crux of the film is that there's this publicist who is a professional publicist. There are so many in India now. So he's looking for a right candidate so that he can, prepare him for contesting an election and he can make some money. So there's a nice looking guy who was walking, towards somewhere, and he says, "Sir, would you like to contest elections?" The election scene was almost on. And he says, "Me, but I know nothing about politics." He says, "Sir, leave it to me." He said, "Fine. There's nothing else I have to do, so let me try." So this guy tells him what to talk, how to speak, how to behave, how to dress up. And lo and behold, he contests the election and he wins the election. After he wins the election, he says to that publicist, "Now what next?" And that publicist looks through him because he's looking for another candidate to prepare for the election. So the crux of the story is that in political PR, do the people who are doing the public relations, publicists, do they believe in the ideology? Do they believe in what the candidate or the party has to offer? Or is it just very clinical that, because you are a strategist, you are good at words, you are good at a strategy, you understand the constituencies, and you can prepare the people for election? We have been seeing that happening in this country. A well-known publicist who has worked for almost all parties, so one really doesn't know what is his ideology. I hope you understand what I'm referring to. So political PR is based on generally on elections, through the elections, and also what kind of strategies and tactics you're using. So an immense effort is required in PR in the pre-event preparation, briefing the candidates, doing background checks, anticipating questions. This is important because once the candidate goes on record about a particular issue, it is difficult to pull back. What appears on the social media, as we know, is difficult to remove its footprints. So communication, information is very important in politics. And how do you say it? Sometimes we say things out of context and we can't withdraw. You've been seeing it is happening, in the elections which you are watching these days, and then it's very difficult to retrieve. So in politics, as in other areas of governance, media again plays a very important role because it's through media you can reach out to your constituencies. So what is really the role of media in political PR or in elections? So news media can influence the voting behavior in 4 situations. That's what the critics feel. When the party loyalties are weak. If somebody is loyal to a party, obviously you can take it that the vote will go to that party. In America, as we know, most of the people are either committed Democrats or committed Republicans. So obviously they know how many votes would go. Unless until things really go wrong at the last moment, people go by the party loyalties. When there are new subjects to cover, so one, media is important when the party loyalties are weak. In the Indian context, we may have a lot of political parties, and there are a lot of people who might owe allegiance to certain parties. Now you find that people are also joining as party workers or as committed workers. So obviously the media may not be able to help. When there are many new subjects to cover, so media can help. When the coverage is credible, and when people really discuss politics, when the coverage is credible, the media has given facts and figures of about some candidates or about political parties, so that can influence voting. Or when the people really discuss politics, but the people don't discuss politics, they only watch media, so you find that media can play that part of a facilitator. In India, it's a very interesting scenario. You find that one thing I must tell you is that in India, an average person is very political savvy. And media, the political elections are like festivals. There's so much funfair during the elections. There's a lot of things which happen a few months before an election, and after the election is over, people discuss this for very long. So it almost becomes a full-time engagement of the people. And in order to know the nerve of the people, I've seen a lot of political parties and also strategists in media. They go to villages, they go to places where people are gathered, like a barber shop, it could be a chai shop, where the village elders, the people are generally gathered around in the morning or in the evening. So in order to know what kind of wind is going on, people pick up a lot of insights from there. And I've seen political strategists and media people swearing by knowing the nerve through those talks. Because when somebody is talking at a chai shop or at a barber shop, you understand the sum total of where the wind is blowing in that village. Though we have a secret ballots, everything, but then media plays a very important part. There was a time when we only had one channel, only 2 bulletins in the pre-satellite revolution time, 15 minutes into 2 news bulletins. Now you have 400 news channels 24/7. Imagine the kind of coverage do they do in the election times, and also the facility or the empowerment the people get from the politicians' perspective, from the independent independent candidates. They can use media, but you've seen that generally the big news channels which have better TRPs, they generally cater to 2 major or maybe 3rd or 4th political party, not many others. Why does it happen? So one is that media is also paid in terms of how much ads they can get, and also there's this allegation of paid media coverage. In fact, Election Commission is seized of the issue, and there are some cases for which even some decisions were taken, where you find that the political parties and the candidates, they pay to the media for coverage. So it's not really paid per se as an advertisement, but when somebody is formally covering you as a reporter, or something is coming in the news paper as if the news correspondent has covered it, giving people the feeling that is a third party endorsement, independent interpretation of events or what the person is saying. So this malice has seeped into the Indian political public relations, and the parliament. We do not even have a law as of now on the fake news and the paid news, but the Election Commission is seized of issue, and something is being done, hopefully would be done soon. Expanding on the propaganda model, Herman and Noam Chomsky argue that media in general serve and propagandize on behalf of the powerful societal interests and control them and finance them. This, they say, is done very smartly by the selection of right-thinking personnel, editors and working journalists, internalization of priorities and definitions of newsworthiness that conforms to the institute's policy. So there's a huge cross-fertilization between the media and these institutes of power. PR is often alleged for its role in manipulating the minds of the people by placing paid news and fake news in connivance with journalists and media houses on behalf of its clients, including candidates around election times. So PR generally is seen in a pejorative sense in political sphere, often by the critics. Political PR draws immensely from the theory of rhetorics by political philosopher Aristotle, who identified three principles of rhetoric: deliberative, forensic, and demonstrative in political communication. Let us look at all these three one by one. The deliberative rhetoric is designed to sway people on matters of public policy by deliberating on the relative advantages and disadvantages of alternative way of things. Its focus is upon what the future stands for you given the policies. It is expected to create a modified expectation to come. In other words, when a politician is giving a speech using a rhetoric, so they are talking about public policy, that if this is the one you choose, because this is what the candidate is saying, this is going to be the impact. If you choose the opposite deliberately, they would say this is going to be the outcome. So this is called the deliberative rhetoric. Then the forensic rhetoric. This focuses on what has happened in the past in order to demonstrate guilt or innocence, responsibility or punishment, and reward. Its normal setting is the courtroom, but can occur anywhere, especially in political communication during elections. You generally would find that when a politician is speaking, they would draw those skeletons from the cupboard 30 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, and what they're doing currently, they would pass on the buck on what had happened in the past. And this is kind of a rhetoric to run down the opposition, and opposition would do to run down the government by telling about the previous things, and also both to demonstrate their guilt, or sometimes could even be innocence. Sometimes you find the media might be a facilitator in getting apology or getting an acceptance for something against which they are being dragged in the public space by a political opponent. Let's look at the demonstrative rhetoric. It's a discourse of praise and blame. Its intent is to amplify the good and bad qualities of a person, institution, or idea. Political campaigns are generally replete with rhetoric using the various kinds of as opponents challenge each other's qualifications for the public office. So you are demonstrating to talk about your good qualities and bad qualities of the person. You've seen all those, the kind of sometimes sobriquet which are used against each other. You see now, I watch a lot of this happening in the West Bengal election, in the Kerala election, majorly, not as much in those smaller states, where and they sometimes coin typical nomenclatures to deride the opponent in a bid to demonstrate their qualities, and obviously bad if it is the adversary. So when we look at the art of political marketing, it goes beyond the 4 P's of marketing. We all know what are the 4 P's of marketing: product, price, promotion, and place. But here you have to go little beyond. It's called the 4 C's of political public relations or political marketing: cause, constituency, comparative advertising, and celebrity endorsements. So let us look at these one by one. Cause. Cause is the starting point. That's what does the party stand for. There can be many causes on offer: nationalism, secularism, Hindutva, development, safety, job, prizes, pride, honesty, and governance. So we also term it as a positioning of a party. So it's very important that the cause is clearly known to the public what that party stands for in a political public relations scenario. Constituency. It's very important to understand the demographic and psychographic profiling of the voters in terms of caste, age, gender, religion. All these matter in strategizing the constituencies at a micro-targeting the voters. Like young people think very differently, and the women might think very differently. Unfortunately, right or wrong, but in India, most of the elections are based on caste. We might talk about development, we might talk of other things, but caste and religion are very important in terms of the political marketing when there's an election in this country. Comparative advertising is the cornerstone of political marketing. The idea is to portray competitors in an unfavorable way without being perceived as attacking them. Political advertising does this by creating FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I remember immediately after I told you that the real political campaigning using mass media started in the 1984 in the aftermath of the assassination of the serving Prime Minister. And the campaign was created in a manner as if there's a huge fear, as if our borders have become porous, we can be attacked here and there. They showed bottles, they showed bombs and all, creating a kind of fear that in case so-and-so party is not brought back, this is going to be the scenario. And then what the adversary had to offer, there were comments on that. And imagine this kind of a campaign help the party in gaining unprecedented mandate. There were other reasons also, other factors also. It can't be just a campaign in the mass media, but it was very powerful campaign. But interestingly, the same party, when they use a kind of similar, when another former Prime Minister was assassinated, they did not get that kind of a response from the public. Reasons could be umpteen. So the comparative advertising and political PR helps, but nowadays, and there's a difference also. In 84 and 90, there's a difference in the mass media scenario. In the 80s, we still have very restricted access and reach of the mass media. We didn't have the 400 kind of news channels. 90s, there was a proliferation of satellite communication. People have more access to information. There's a varying kind of information, and the people who are fighting elections, they have varying kinds of platforms. So obviously, people are more wiser about the stimuli, about the media information which they get from, and we have seen that since the 90s, the political campaigns have been very different, but we have seen that there's a lot of empowerment on the part of the voters to access information about candidates, about political parties, about their situations, about their manifestos, so on and so forth. Finally, the celebrity endorsement. Initially, the celebrity quotient was dependent on glamour, getting film stars for the road shows. But with the rapid media growth in the last decade and a half, now we have celebrity commentators like editors, TV anchors, former diplomats, and government servants, all offering their endorsements for the benefit of the voters. Such endorsements will multiply in this election. Parties will rope in influential social commentators and feed them with talking points to build preferences, especially among undecided voters. So one is that a lot of political parties give tickets to celebrities to fight election. We are seeing it happening, especially in West Bengal. There's a huge kind of competition, and the celebrities mostly are from the Tollywood, from the people who work in cinema or the television. But then there are a lot of celebrities who have been roped in to do the road shows or endorse certain points of views and certain contestants. But then, as I said, that it's not just the celebrities from the Tinseltown. The sports persons are much in demand, and even people who, as I said, that the diplomats are in great demand. The media anchors are in great demand. There are a lot of celebrity editors also who are also in great demand, and they carry a lot of fan following, and that really helps the political PR facilitators for various parties and the candidates. So political parties generally choose a multimedia blitzkrieg to reach out to varying constituencies. Each medium has its efficacy. Print media, television, radio, and social media and interpersonal communication through road shows, rallies, and door-to-door campaigning is used so that nobody is left out. Years ago in America, when Clinton was fighting the election in the 90s, I think it was 1996, and there used to be a Larry King show, in America, in which the major candidates would be interviewed and they'd be grilled for an hour by the anchor Larry King. And that time, Bill Clinton was not very well known. He was only known for the wrong things, not the very right things. So this gentleman, and this was during, this was in front of the invited audience. So this man went on questioning Mr. Clinton on various issues which were not political but his personal issues. So at the end of the talk, a lady got up from the audience and said that, "I'm surprised, King, that you're asking Mr. Clinton things which doesn't have to do with governance and politics. You haven't asked him a single question. How would he govern the country in case he is elected?" And imagine after that, because whatever questions he was asking, the very personal ones, he seemed to be very honest, that could have been rehearsed in replying. Like, for example, did you ever had an extramarital, or did you ever had a dope? And he would say, yes, did you participate in the Vietnam War, demonstrations? And to the best of his capability, it could be rehearsed, as I said, he was answering, which appeared a little honest. And when this lady asked a question, after this Larry King show, the empirical data said that the guy who had a rating of just about a double digit, his rating went to more than 50%, because people thought he was this guy who said that he made wrongs in his life, but he was improving, he was honest about it. And Clinton really got a lot of public support, and he became the president of America. Later, when then he had this problem of moral turpitude with Monica Lewinsky, then again he deterred, but then he was about to be impeached. But then it's very interesting, as in one of my discourse on crisis communication, I have referred to William Benoit's theory. So when you watch his video on the net, you would find that he has covered this story also, how his reputation was managed during that affair. So in political, public relations, it can be during elections, it can be a crisis situation. So the political PR guys they may not be attached to a political personality, it could be a president or a prime minister, but then they could be engaged, they could be commissioned to handle issues when they are in a crisis situation. So with a large ideological divide in the news media over a period of time, political parties depend on quote-unquote friendly media houses and journalists to push their agenda, which you see. And it's not that just in India, but all over the world, you do find there's ideological issues with the media, which is not fair, which is not good, which should not happen. Media is expected to be independent interpreter of the issues, but then, as I said, that there are many considerations for the media, the commercial, the corporate, the race for TRP, so on and so forth, for which they are forced to take sides in their own interest, obviously. So all in all, political PR is an indispensable tool in election campaigns. Election campaigns now border well-conceived brand campaigns with high-profile publicists undertaking the job for various political parties at different points of time, their ideological preferences notwithstanding. So with this, I'll just recap what we discussed. We discussed the meaning of political public relations, And we discussed that PR can be paid and can be unpaid. Basically, when you talk about PR in politics or during elections, it's expected that media would do the bidding, media would do the talking. But then, unfortunately, the menace of fake news and paid news has seeped into the election, especially during the election times. And the public relations obviously is seen in a very pejorative sense for manipulating the minds of the people. We discussed about the various C's of political campaigning or political marketing, which is little different from the 4 P's of marketing. We also saw that how difficult or easy it is for the people who have resources to fight elections, and how there are publicists who may have no party leanings. They do a very clinical job of presenting political parties and presenting candidates to win elections. So I hope it made sense. Thank you so much for watching.